Magandang balita po ito. Clothing allowance for DepEd employees 2023. Forms and other details of the uniform or clothing allowance 2023. 1. The UCA may be granted in the following release date of uniform or clothing allowance 2023. The annual clothing and uniform allowance amounting to 6,000 pesos shall be released to guidelines on the new DepEd uniform for teaching and non-teaching personnel. The Department of Education adapted 4 new sets of DepEd national uniforms. Magandang araw po mga kaguro. Magandang balita po ito. Clothing allowance for DepEd employees 2023. General Appropriations Act (GAA) provides that an amount not exceeding 6,000 pesos per annum is authorized for the payment of uniform or clothing allowance of each qualified government employee, subject to the guidelines, rules and regulations issued by the Department of Budget and Management (DBM). The circular covers civilian government personnel occupying regular, contractual, or casual positions, appointive or elective, rendering services on full-time or part-time basis. The uniform or clothing allowance for full-time service of government personnel shall not exceed 6,000 pesos per annum. For each subsequent year, the uniform or clothing allowance shall not exceed the amount authorized under the pertinent general provision in the annual GAA. The uniform or clothing allowance per annum for part-time service shall be in direct proportion to the uniform or clothing allowance for full-time service. For example, the uniform or clothing allowance for part-time service shall be computed as follows. Uniform or clothing allowance part-time service in fiscal year 2018 equals 6,000 pesos times hours of part-time service per day divided 8 hours of full-time service. Forms and other details of the uniform or clothing allowance 2023. 1. The UCA may be granted in the following forms. A. In the form of uniforms procured through a bidding process, which may include uniform articles normally worn, as part thereof such as regulation caps, belts, etc., for incumbents of positions like special police, security guard, etc. B. In the form of textile materials and cash to cover sewing or tailoring costs, as has been adopted by very large departments, and C. In cash form, for incumbents of executive positions, who may not be required to wear the prescribed uniforms, or for those who will procure their individual uniforms, according to set conditions. 2. As far as practicable, such uniform or clothing shall use Philippine tropical fibers pursuant to Republic Act No. 92421, Series of 2004. 3. Shoes shall be on the personal accounts of officials or employees, unless provided for by law. Release date of uniform or clothing allowance 2023. The annual clothing and uniform allowance amounting to 6,000 pesos shall be released to all eligible personnel, not earlier than the first working day of April of the current year, subject to existing accounting and auditing rules and regulations, and upon the release of the notice of cash allocation from DBM. Guidelines on the new DepEd uniform for teaching and non-teaching personnel. The Department of Education adapted 4 new sets of DepEd national uniform designs for teaching, and 2 new national uniform designs for non-teaching personnel, starting in the transition period of the school year 2021 to 2022. Starting in school year 2022 to 2023, all teaching and non-teaching personnel shall wear the prescribed new set of uniforms. Maraming salamat. At kung ikaw ay interesado ng mga bidyong tulad nito, mangyaring suportahan ang channel na ito sa pamamagitan ng pagpindot ng like, pag-share ng mga video at kung bago ka pa lang sa channel na ito, please subscribe sa channel na ito at pindutin ang notification bell at piliin ang all upang maabisuhan ka para sa mga paparating pang mga videos.